There's something different about people who waited for the polio vaccine in 1955. In a world where medical breakthroughs happen quietly in laboratories, these individuals experienced the most dramatic transition from collective fear to collective hope in modern history, and it shaped their psychology in ways that experts are only now beginning to understand. Let's start with something most people can't imagine. Picture yourself at 7 years old in the spring of 1955. For as long as you can remember, summer meant danger. Not the kind of danger you could see or avoid, but an invisible enemy that could steal your ability to walk, breathe, or move. Your parents had spent every summer of your life terrified that you might be the next child who did come home from the swimming pool. You'd watched as entire neighborhoods held their breath every June, waiting to see which family would get the phone call, which child would wake up with a stiff neck and fever, which friend would disappear from school and never come back the same. The lucky ones came home with leg braces. The unlucky ones didn't come home at all. But on April 12, 1955, everything changed. The radio crackled with news that seemed too good to be true. Dr. Jonas Salk had done it. The polio vaccine worked, 80 to 90% effective. The nightmare that had haunted every parent and every child for generations was about to end. Think about what that moment meant to your developing brain. You had lived your entire childhood under the shadow of a disease that could strike anyone, anywhere, anytime. Your parents had spent years teaching you to be afraid of crowds, afraid of swimming, afraid of other children, and suddenly, science had an answer. But here's what made this different from any medical breakthrough before or since. This wasn't just about preventing disease. This was about the birth of scientific hope in the mind of a child. You were witnessing the moment when human ingenuity defeated an invisible enemy, when doctors became heroes, when medicine became magic. Now imagine walking into your school gymnasium in May of 1955. Tables are set up in neat rows. Nurses in crisp white uniforms are preparing syringes. There's a line of children ahead of you, some crying, some excited, all of them part of something historic. You're about to become part of the largest medical trial in human history. Your turn comes. The nurse smiles at you, rolls up your sleeve, and gives you a shot that hurts for exactly 3 seconds. But in that moment, something extraordinary happens in your mind. You've just experienced the power of collective action. Millions of children, all receiving the same protection, all participating in the end of a nightmare. 3 weeks later, you're back for your second shot, then your third. Each time, the nurse explains that you're building immunity, that your body is learning to fight polio, that you're becoming stronger, not weaker. This wasn't just medical treatment. This was empowerment through science. Psychologists call this phenomenon scientific trust imprinting. Children who experienced the polio vaccine rollout developed a fundamental belief that human problems have human solutions, that research and patience and collective effort can overcome even the most frightening challenges. But the real psychological transformation happened that first summer after vaccination. For the first time in your life, June arrived without fear. Swimming pools opened without anxiety. Children played together without their parents scanning for signs of illness. You experienced what researchers now call collective medical relief on a scale never seen before or since. Think about what this did to your relationship with uncertainty. Previous generations had learned to live with medical mysteries, to accept that some things simply couldn't be cured or prevented. But you learned the opposite. You learned that what seems impossible today might be routine tomorrow. That science is not magic, but something even better. It's reliable progress. This created what medical psychologists call pragmatic medical optimism. Unlike naive hope, this was hope based on evidence. Hope backed by research. Hope that had literally saved your life and the lives of everyone you knew. You learned to trust the scientific process because you had lived through its most dramatic success. Now imagine yourself as an adult, decades later, facing a new medical crisis. Maybe it's cancer, maybe it's heart disease, maybe it's a pandemic. While others spiral into panic or despair, you do something different. You ask about the research. You look for the clinical trials. You trust the process because you've seen it work miracles before. This isn't blind faith in medicine. It's informed confidence based on lived experience. You know that breakthroughs happen because you were there when the biggest breakthrough of the 20th century saved your childhood. You understand that vaccines work because you received one that eliminated a disease that had terrorized humanity for centuries. The polio vaccine generation carries something precious and increasingly rare: unshakable faith in collective human effort. They believe problems can be solved because they lived through the solving of an unsolvable problem. They trust scientific institutions because those institutions earned their trust when it mattered most. But here's what's most remarkable about this psychological profile. The waiting was as important as the receiving. Those months between Dr. Salk's announcement and your first vaccine dose taught you something that instant gratification generations never learned. That the best things are worth waiting for. That hope deferred is not hope denied. You learned to live in the space between promise and delivery. To maintain optimism during uncertainty. To trust that adults were working on solutions, even when you couldn't see the progress. This created what researchers call process patience, the ability to trust long-term efforts even when immediate results are undivisible. When younger people ask how your generation maintains such steady optimism about medical advances, scientific research, and collective problem-solving, now you know. It's not just personality. It's not just a different era. It's the psychological legacy of living through humanity's greatest medical triumph. You were children when science defeated polio. You experienced firsthand that the impossible becomes possible when brilliant people work together toward a common goal. You learned that waiting for the right answer is better than accepting the wrong one. That hope based on hard work is the most reliable hope of all. Those vaccination lines in 1955 didn't just protect you from polio. They taught you something even more valuable. That human beings can solve human problems. That science serves humanity. That collective action creates miracles. And that faith in the future, when based on evidence and effort, is never misplaced. Drop a comment and share your polio vaccine story. Do you remember the lines, the nurses, the relief in your parents' eyes? How did that experience shape your trust in medical science today? And if this resonated with you, hit like and subscribe because we dive deep into the psychology that explains how your unique childhood experiences shaped the remarkable optimism you carry today. See you next time.